Long ago, in the hush between twilight and dreaming, there was said to be a place where the reeds shimmered like quiet starlight on water, a place where gentle winds moved soft-footed across endless golden fields, and the Nile's calm whisper guided wandering hearts toward rest. Welcome to Sleeping Pill Tales, where stories are shaped to soothe the mind and help one drift into sleep. Tonight, we follow a peaceful path into the field of reeds, the serene afterlife of ancient Egypt, where light glows softly and time moves like a slow, easy breath. And so we drift. In this calming myth, we journey across still waters, through warm twilight, into a realm where every reed holds a whisper of harmony. One may feel the hush of a tender breeze, or imagine the soft gleam of moonlit lotus petals opening along the shore. The old stories say that in Aaru, nothing hurries, and everything rests in gentle balance. Here, we move quietly, letting the day loosen and settle, allowing the night to leave. Deeper into the field of reeds, following channels that branched and rejoined, like the threads of a vast woven tapestry. Each turn revealed new landscapes, yet they were not different places, but the same place seen from different perspectives. The way a single text might contain multiple meanings, depending on the heart of the reader. Here, a grove of palm trees cast shadows that were not dark, but merely a different quality of light. There, a field of wheat stretched toward a horizon that never grew closer, the golden grain swaying in patterns that spelled out words of peace in a language older than speech. A boat moved without sound, its passage through the water creating ripples that were perfect circles, each one expanding infinitely without ever disturbing the next. A demonstration of how in this place, all things could coexist without conflict, without competition, without the need to diminish one for the sake of another. This was the ultimate realization of Ma'at, not a balance achieved through opposition, but a harmony created through the recognition of inherent unity. Isis settled beside Neferu, her presence both maternal and divine, both familiar and transcendent. In the world you left, she explained, her voice like the Nile's flow, like a mother's lullaby, like the sound of seeds germinating in dark earth. Time moved in one direction, from birth to death, from dawn to dusk, from planting to harvest. Here, time moves in all directions simultaneously, or rather, it does not move at all. The moment of your arrival contains all moments, and the moment of your departure has already occurred and not yet happened. You exist in the eternal present, which is not a prison, but a liberation. Neferu tried to understand this and found that she could, not through effort, but through release. The concepts that had seemed so difficult in life, eternity, infinity, perfection, revealed themselves here not as abstract ideas, but as lived experiences, as the natural state of being. She saw that the field of reeds was not a location, but a condition, not a reward, but a realization, not a destination, but a coming home. They came now to a place where the reeds grew in circular patterns around pools of water that reflected not the sky, but the soul of whoever looked into them. Neferu settled upon a stone that had been shaped not by human hands, but by the gentle action of water over time. Its surface smooth as glass, yet warm as skin. She looked into the nearest pool and saw not her reflection, but the essence of her life. Not as a series of events, but as a single, continuous act of becoming. She saw herself as a child, learning her first hieroglyphs, the reed pen clumsy in her small hand, the ink blurring on the papyrus. She saw herself as a young woman, mastering the complex texts, her confidence growing with each scroll completed. She saw herself as middle-aged, teaching younger scribes, her knowledge passing like light from one lamp to another. She saw herself as an old woman, her hand trembling but her understanding deeper than ever, writing the spells that would guide others toward this very moment. But these were not separate images, not a timeline of past events. They existed simultaneously, layered upon each other like watercolors on papyrus, creating a depth of being that was not possible in linear time. She understood that she had always been all of these ages, that the child was present in the crone, that the teacher was present in the student, that every moment of her life had contained all other moments, waiting to be recognized. Thoth and Isis waited while she contemplated, giving her the gift of time that was not time, the space to integrate what she had become. They understood that transformation was not a single event, but a continuous process. That understanding deepened through contemplation. That peace was not achieved, but revealed. The reeds around them continued their endless swaying. The water in the pools continued its perfect circulation. The light continued its eternal golden presence. All of them participants in a symphony of stillness. When Neferu finally rose, she felt no different, yet completely changed, as one does when waking from a profound dream. The world the same, yet somehow more. She stepped back into the boat, and it moved forward again. Though forward was merely a convention, a way of speaking about movement that was actually stillness in motion, progress that was actually presence deepening. The field of reeds opened now into its fullest expression, a landscape that was at once a field, a garden, a city, and a wilderness, containing all possible forms, yet transcending all categories. Here stood a temple complex that rivaled any in the living world. Yet its stones were not quarried, but grown, each block a crystal that had formed naturally into perfect rectangular shapes, each one emitting a soft light that contributed to the general illumination. The columns were not carved, but had become, through some process of intelligent becoming, shaped like papyrus plants that supported the sky not as a burden, but as an offering. Within this temple, which had no outer walls because it needed no protection from anything, stood Osiris himself, the green-skinned god of the underworld, the lord of the afterlife, the judge of the dead. Yet he was not a judge in the sense of one who condemns or acquits. He was a recognizer of truth, a mirror in which the soul could see itself clearly, a principle of transformation that facilitated the soul's own process of becoming. Neferu, justified one. Osiris greeted her, his voice like the growth of plants, like the flow of water, like the patience of stone. You have written of me, for me, about me. You have copied my story of death and resurrection, of dismemberment and reintegration, of loss and recovery. Now you stand before me, not as a reader of myths, but as a liver of truth. The story you wrote was not about me, but about yourself, about all beings, about the journey each soul must take from fragmentation to wholeness. She approached the god, not with fear or even reverence, but with recognition. She saw in his green face not a deity separate from herself, but the aspect of her own being that could die and be reborn endlessly, that could lose itself and find itself, that could forget and remember. His hands crossed over his chest, held the crook and flail, not as symbols of power, but as tools of guidance. The crook to lead gently, the flail to correct compassionately. Lord of the eternal cycle, Neferu responded, her voice no longer that of an old woman, but of a being who had become ageless. I wrote your story because it was the most beautiful story I knew, the one that gave meaning to suffering, that transformed tragedy into triumph, that made sense of the senseless. I did not know I was writing my own story, that each hieroglyph was a step, each sentence a gate, each completed scroll a passage through the duat. Osiris smiled, and his smile was like the Nile's annual flood, bringing life to dead land, like the sunrise after the darkest hour of night, like the first green shoot emerging from black earth. That is always the way, he said. We think we are creating art, but we are creating ourselves. We believe we are copying texts, but we are mapping consciousness. The field of reeds is not a place you have come to, but a state you have recognized as your own deepest nature. Welcome home, scribe. Your work here is just beginning. The concept of work in Aaru was not what it had been in the living world. There were no deadlines, no commissions, no need to earn bread or shelter. Instead, work was the natural expression of one's perfected nature, the joyful activity that emerged from complete alignment with being. For Neferu, this meant writing, but writing of a different kind. Not copying texts, but creating them. Not preserving ancient words, but allowing new ones to flow through her. Inspired by the perfect understanding that existed here, she settled now into a rhythm that was not a routine, but a meditation. A cycle of activity and rest that had no beginning or end, no urgency, no purpose other than the activity itself. She would wake when she was ready, which was both always and never. For in Aaru, one was both always waking and always dreaming. She would walk through the reeds, feeling their smooth stems against her skin, listening to their eternal whisper, breathing the scent of water and growth. She would come to a pool and sit, looking into its depths, seeing not her reflection, but the ongoing process of her own becoming. Sometimes Thoth would join her, and they would write together, not as teacher and student, but as collaborators in the ongoing work of creation. Their pens would move across papyrus that was not papyrus, but pure potential, writing words that were not symbols, but realities, creating stories that were not narratives, but being. The texts they produced were not for the dead, but for the living, not to guide souls to Aaru, but to remind them that they had never left, that Aaru was not a destination, but the underlying reality of which the living world was a beautiful, temporary, necessary dream. Other times, Isis would come, and they would weave together, not linen, but the threads of existence itself, creating patterns that held meaning for those still caught in time's linear flow. The cloth they produced was ma'at, made visible, cosmic order in textile form, and they would send it as gifts to the living world, where it might appear as a moment of perfect beauty, a sudden insight, a feeling of inexplicable peace, a memory of something that had never happened, yet felt more real than anything that had. The reeds continued their endless growth, each one a soul that had found its perfect expression, each one a prayer that had become its own answer. The pools remained perfectly still, yet endlessly moving, each one a mirror that showed not what was, but what is, not the past, but the eternal present. The sky continued its perpetual golden twilight, neither day nor night, but the perfect balance between, the moment of transformation that lasts forever. Neferu came to understand that Aaru was not a reward for the justified dead, but the natural state of all being, the ground of existence that the living had simply forgotten. The journey through the Duat was not a test, but a remembering, not a trial, but a recognition, not a judge. This understanding deepened, not through thought, but through being, not through analysis, but through experience, not through seeking, but through settling. She found that she could move between the world of the living and the world of the dead as easily as she could move between rooms in a house, that the duat was a permeable membrane rather than an unbridgeable chasm, that death was not a wall but a door, not an ending, but a translation into a different language of being. The work of writing continued, but now her texts were not copies or even originals but emanations, not preserved on papyrus but existing as pure meaning, ready to be received by any mind that opened to them. She wrote not with a pen but with intention, not with ink but with understanding, not for the future but for the timeless present that contained all time. The wisdom she had spent a lifetime accumulating now flowed through her as easily as the waters of paradise flowed through the channels of the field of reeds. And so the Osiris Neferu dwells in the field of reeds, not as a spirit separate from the world, but but as an aspect of the world's own being. Not as a memory of a life lived, but as a presence that enriches all life. Not as a scribe of the book of the dead, but as a living word in the book of eternal life. She exists in perpetual twilight, perpetual spring, perpetual peace, her being a gentle offering to the ongoing process of becoming. That is the universe's deepest nature. The reeds continue their swaying, the waters their flowing, the light its perpetual golden presence. Time moves not forward, but inward, deepening rather than progressing. Each moment contains the seed of all moments. Each breath, the memory of all breaths. Each step, the journey of all steps taken by all beings across all worlds. This is the peace that passeth understanding, not because it is beyond comprehension, but because it is before comprehension, the ground from which understanding itself emerges. If you listen now, in the quiet of your own room, in the darkness behind your closed eyes, you might hear the rustling of those reeds, might feel the gentle current of that water, might sense the golden light of that perpetual twilight. For the field of reeds is not far away in distance or time, but nearby in consciousness, accessible in the space between breaths, present in the pause between thoughts, available in the silence that underlies all sound. The journey of Neferu is your journey, the journey of every being who has ever lived and died and lived again. The duat is the space between your heartbeats. The hall of two truths is the moment when you look into your own eyes in the mirror of self. The weighing of the heart is the question you ask yourself in the deepest night. Have I lived in harmony? Have I been true? The answer is always yes, if you ask with love, if you listen with patience, if you accept with grace. Let the golden light of Aaru filter into your awareness now, not as a thought, but as a feeling, not as an idea, but as a presence. Feel the gentle swaying of the reeds as the swaying of your own breathing, the flow of the water as the flow of your own blood, the warmth of the perpetual sun as the warmth of your own life. You are not separate from paradise. You are the paradise you seek, the field you wish to enter, the peace you long to find. The journey is not to a place, but to a recognition, not to a time, but to a realization, not to a heaven, but to a here. Breathe now as the reeds breathe, slowly and deeply, in harmony with a wind that is both external and internal, both cosmic and personal. Let your body settle into the support beneath you, as Neferu settled onto the stone beside the pool, as the boat settled into the current, as the soul settles into its true nature. Feel the weight of your years not as a burden, but as a collection of experiences, each one precious, each one perfect, each one a step in the journey that has always been leading you here, to this moment, to this understanding, to this peace. The lotus flowers in the pools of Aaru open eternally, their petals unfolding with the patience of stone, their perfume filling the air with the scent of pure being. In your own heart, a lotus is opening now, each petal a breath. Each breath, a step deeper into rest. Each step, a movement toward the peace that has been waiting for you since before you were born, will be with you after you have died, is with you now in this moment. The waters of the duat flow through you, not as a river separate from your being, but as the current of your own life, carrying you not away from yourself, but deeper into yourself, not toward an end, but toward an endless beginning. Each drop of water is a moment, each moment perfect and complete, each complete moment containing the seed of all other moments. You are the river, you are the boat, you are the journey, you are the arrival. The guide is your own wisdom, the destination is your own heart, the paradise is your own true nature revealed. The serene landscape of Aaru, the ancient Egyptian concept of the afterlife, particularly the paradise known as Aaru or the Field of Reeds, presents a vision of eternal peace and abundance that mirrors the most fertile and beloved landscapes of the Nile Valley. This celestial realm was not a distant, abstract heaven, but a tangible, idealized version of the world the deceased had left behind, free from the hardships and sorrows of earthly existence. Descriptions from funerary texts, most notably the Book of the Dead, paint a vivid picture of a place designed for eternal contentment, where the soul could live in harmony with nature and the divine. The very name Aaru, meaning reeds, immediately evokes the lush, life-giving marshes of the Nile Delta, a symbol of fertility and renewal. This was a land of boundless fields, gentle waters, and a perfect eternal climate, a sanctuary where the blessed dead could find ultimate rest and fulfillment. The landscape itself was a key component of the soul's eternal happiness, providing not just a setting, but a source of perpetual joy and sustenance. The ancient Egyptian conception of the afterlife, known as Aaru, or the Field of Reeds, presents a vision of paradise that is deeply rooted in the tangible, beloved landscape of the Nile Valley. Rather than an abstract, ethereal realm, Aaru is depicted as a perfected and eternal version of Egypt itself, a land of unparalleled abundance and tranquility. This idyllic realm is characterized by vast, unending stretches of fertile land, a testament to the life-giving power of the Nile. The soil is rich and dark, capable of sustaining life in a perpetual state of growth and renewal. Unlike the earthly Nile Valley, which was subject to the annual inundation and the toil of farmers, the land of Aaru is eternally fertile, requiring no back-breaking labor. The landscape is not just a backdrop for the afterlife, but an active participant in the soul's eternal journey, providing sustenance, beauty, and a sense of profound peace. The very ground beneath one's feet is a testament to the divine order, a place where the natural world operates in perfect harmony, untouched by decay or the passage of the act of harvesting is transformed from a necessity into a joyful ritual, a harmonious interaction between the soul and the divine landscape. The gentle swaying of the crops is a visual lullaby, a constant, soothing motion that calms the spirit and reinforces the sense of peace that permeates this realm. This is not the harsh, unforgiving sun of the desert, but a warm, life-giving light that bathes the fields in a golden glow, creating a scene of breathtaking beauty and tranquility. The very air seems to hum with contentment, a testament to the soul's arrival in a place where all earthly toils have been left behind. The Nile's waters, flowing serenely, flowing through this idyllic landscape is the Nile, the lifeblood of Egypt, which in Aaru is a river of unparalleled serenity. Its waters are not subject to the turbulent floods or the muddy churn of the earthly Nile, but flow in a state of perpetual calm, a mirror reflecting the perfect sky above. The river is a source of life and a symbol of the soul's journey, a gentle current that carries the blessed dead to their final destination. The banks of the Nile in Aaru are lined with lush reeds, from which the field takes its name, creating a soft, rustling symphony that blends with the gentle lapping of the water. This is a place for quiet contemplation, for drifting in a boat without a care in the world, for feeling the cool water on one's skin. The Nile in Aaru is not just a body of water. It is a symbol of the eternal flow of life, a reminder that even in death, the journey continues in a state of perfect peace. The gentle, serenely flowing waters are a constant source of comfort, a liquid lullaby that soothes the soul and washes away any lingering memories of earthly sorrow. The climate of Aaru is a crucial element in its depiction as a paradise, described as ever kind and free from the extremes that characterized the Egyptian desert environment. This is not a realm of scorching heat or bitter cold, but one of perpetual, gentle warmth and comfort. The sun in Aaru is not the harsh, punishing disk that beat down on the fields of Egypt, but a soft, golden light that provides perfect illumination without causing discomfort. It is a climate of eternal spring, where the air is always fresh and fragrant with the scent of blooming flowers. This perfect weather ensures that the landscape remains eternally verdant and that the inhabitants are always comfortable. It is a world where the elements are in perfect harmony, creating an environment that is not just survivable, but truly delightful. The absence of harsh weather is a defining feature of the Aaru climate and a key element in its appeal as a paradise. There are no sandstorms to scour the land, no torrential rains to cause floods, and no oppressive heat waves to wither the crops. The weather is always perfect, a state of eternal equilibrium that ensures the continued prosperity and beauty of the landscape. This absence of harsh weather is not just a physical comfort, but a psychological one as well. It represents the complete absence of danger, threat, and uncertainty. In Aaru, the soul is safe from all harm, protected by the divine order that governs this perfect realm. The gentle breeze that sways the golden crops is the only movement in the air, a soft. This perfect climate is a powerful symbol of the peace and security that awaits the blessed dead. A world where the struggles and anxieties of earthly life are forever forgotten. A climate of eternal spring. The climate of Aaru is one of perpetual gentle warmth, a stark contrast to the harsh and often unpredictable weather of the earthly world. The sun, a powerful symbol of the god Ra, shines down on the fields with a soft golden light, providing just the right amount of. The climate is often described as being like an eternal spring, a time of renewal and rebirth, which is a fitting metaphor for the soul's journey to the afterlife. The gentle breeze that blows through the reeds is always warm and fragrant, carrying with it the sweet scent of flowers and the fresh, clean smell of the Nile. This constant, pleasant weather creates a sense of stability and security, a world where the soul can finally find rest and contentment, free from the anxieties and uncertainties of the mortal world. The symbolic flora and fauna. The landscape of Aaru is rich with symbolic flora and fauna, each element carefully chosen to reinforce the themes of rebirth, resurrection, and eternal life. The lotus flower, a powerful symbol in Egyptian mythology, was a prominent feature of this paradise. Which blooms anew each morning, was a potent symbol of rebirth and the cyclical nature of life, a perfect emblem for the afterlife, where the soul was reborn into a new, eternal existence. Its presence in the pools and waterways of Aaru would have been a constant reminder of the soul's triumph over death and its entry into a new, glorious phase of being. The gentle, soothing presence of the lotus, with its delicate fragrance and beautiful petals, would have added to the overall atmosphere of peace and tranquility, a visual and olfactory lullaby for the soul at rest. Another powerful symbol of resurrection was the Bennu bird, a mythical creature often associated with the sun god Ra and the concept of rebirth. The Bennu, sometimes identified with the phoenix, was said to rise from its own ashes, a perfect metaphor for the soul's journey through death and into a new life in Aaru. The soaring flight of the Bennu bird over the fields of reeds would have been a majestic and inspiring sight, a symbol of the soul's freedom and its connection to the divine. The presence of such a powerful symbol of resurrection would have reinforced the idea that Aaru was not just a place of rest, but a place of active, vibrant life, a realm where the soul was not merely preserved, but transformed and glorified. The gentle presence of other creatures, such as butterflies, would have added to the sense of a living, breathing paradise, a world teeming with life and beauty, a perfect reflection of the divine order. The lotus flower as a symbol of rebirth. The lotus flower, particularly the blue lotus, Nymphea caerulea, held profound significance in ancient Egyptian culture, symbolizing rebirth, resurrection, and the cyclical nature of life and death. This symbolism is deeply rooted in the flower's daily cycle of blooming with the sunrise and closing at dusk, mirroring the sun's journey across the sky and the soul's passage through the afterlife. The lotus's ability to emerge pristine from muddy waters further reinforced its association with purity and spiritual ascension, making it a powerful emblem of the soul's journey to enlightenment and divinity. In the context of Aaru, the field of reeds, the lotus represents the ultimate state of peace and renewal that the deceased could achieve. The flower's presence in the afterlife would signify the successful completion of the soul's trials and its transformation into a state of eternal bliss. The ancient Egyptians incorporated the lotus into their spiritual practices, using its essence in rituals and ceremonies to induce a higher state of consciousness and connect with the divine. This practice highlights the flower's role not just as a symbol, but as an active agent in the spiritual journey, guiding the soul towards its final resting place in Aaru. The Bennu bird as a symbol of resurrection. The Bennu bird, a mythological creature often likened to the phoenix of Greek mythology, was a powerful symbol of resurrection and the cyclical nature of life and death in ancient Egyptian religion. The Bennu was believed to have flown over the primordial waters of Nun before creation, and its cry was said to have marked the beginning of time. This association with the dawn of creation and the sun god Ra, who was also linked to the Bennu, positioned the bird as a symbol of rebirth and the eternal cycle of the sun's daily journey across the sky.
The Bennu's most famous myth involves its death and resurrection. After living a long life, the bird would build a nest of fragrant herbs and branches, face the setting sun, and burst into flames, only to rise again from its own ashes, renewed and full of life. This act of self-immolation and rebirth mirrored the journey of the soul through the afterlife, making the Bennu a central figure in Egyptian funerary practices and a symbol of the immortality that awaited the faithful. The gentle presence of butterflies. The gentle presence of butterflies in Aaru adds another layer of symbolic meaning to this idyllic realm. In ancient Egypt, butterflies were seen as symbols of the soul, and their presence in Aaru would have represented the souls of the deceased who had successfully navigated the trials of the afterlife and achieved a state of peace and transformation. The butterfly's metamorphosis from a lowly caterpillar to a beautiful winged creature is a powerful metaphor for the soul's journey from the earthly realm to the afterlife. The gentle fluttering of butterflies among the lotus flowers and golden fields would have been a common sight in Aaru, a visual representation of the countless souls who had found their eternal rest in this paradise. The delicate beauty of the butterfly is a symbol of the fragility and preciousness of life, but also of its potential for transformation and transcendence. In the context of Aaru, the butterfly is a symbol of the soul's ultimate triumph over the limitations of the physical world. The soul's peaceful existence in Aaru. The existence of the soul in Aaru was one of perpetual peace, joy, and fulfillment, a stark contrast to the trials and tribulations of earthly life. This was not a passive, static state of being, but an active, vibrant life, a continuation of the best aspects of the deceased's earthly existence, stripped of all hardship and sorrow. The Book of the Dead provides a detailed picture of this idyllic existence, promising the soul the ability to engage in all the activities it enjoyed in life, from farming and herding to eating, drinking,
and making love. This was a life of eternal contentment, where every desire was met and every need fulfilled. The soul was not alone in this paradise, but lived in the company of other blessed dead and in the presence of the gods, a community of the righteous who had successfully navigated the trials of the afterlife. The peaceful existence in Aaru was the ultimate reward, the culmination of a long and perilous journey, a final resting place where the soul could find the peace and happiness it had sought throughout its existence. In the field of reeds, the concept of labor is fundamentally transformed from a burdensome necessity into a source of joy and fulfillment. The blessed dead, upon their arrival in the field of reeds, are not condemned to an eternity of idleness, but are instead invited to continue the activities that they enjoyed in their...
This is a world where the very act of creation and cultivation is a source of profound satisfaction and spiritual fulfillment.
Tending to the golden fields in Aaru, labor was not a burden, but a source of joy and fulfillment. The deceased were promised the opportunity to continue their earthly occupations, particularly farming and herding, but without the toil, exhaustion, and uncertainty that often accompanied such work in the mortal realm. The Book of the Dead explicitly mentions spells that grant the soul the power to plow and reap in the field of reeds, ensuring a bountiful harvest without the back-breaking labor. This was a form of labor that was deeply satisfying, a way for the soul to feel productive and connected to the land. The act of tending to the golden fields, of watching the crops grow and flourish under the perfect sun, was a source of profound contentment. Similarly, herding cattle, another important occupation in ancient Egypt, was a peaceful and enjoyable activity in Aaru, a way to connect with the natural world and its gentle creatures. Herding cattle without toil, the act of herding cattle in Aaru, is another example of the joyful, unburdened labor that characterizes this paradise. The cattle are not wild or unruly, but gentle and docile, a reflection of the overall harmony of the realm. The soul, acting as a shepherd, moves through the lush pastures with a sense of ease and contentment, the cattle following willingly. This activity is not a chore, but a pleasure, a way for the soul to connect with the natural world and to experience the simple joys of companionship and care. The cattle themselves are a symbol of wealth and prosperity, and their presence in Aaru signifies the soul's attainment of a state of complete material and spiritual abundance. The act of herding is a gentle, peaceful one, a far cry from the often difficult and dangerous work of a mortal shepherd. In Aaru, all creatures live in perfect harmony, and the relationship between the soul and the animals is one of mutual respect and affection. The fulfillment found in daily work in Aaru is a key aspect of the soul's peaceful existence. This fulfillment comes not from the achievement of a specific goal, but from the simple act of engaging in meaningful activity. The work in Aaru is not a means to an end, but an end in itself, a source of intrinsic joy and satisfaction. The soul finds purpose and meaning in the daily rhythms of life, in the gentle cycle of planting and harvesting, of caring for animals and communing with nature. This sense of fulfillment is a direct result of the absence of hardship and the presence of perfect harmony. In Aaru, the soul is free to pursue its passions and to express its creativity without the constraints of the physical world. The work is a form of meditation, a way for the soul to connect with its own inner wisdom and with the divine source of all creation. This deep sense of fulfillment is a hallmark of the Aaru experience, a testament to the fact that in this paradise, the soul has found its true home. The rhythms of earthly life, the afterlife in Aaru, is not a departure from the rhythms of earthly life, but a continuation and perfection of them. The blessed dead rise each day, just as they did in the mortal world, to engage in the activities that gave their lives meaning and purpose. This continuation of earthly rhythms is a source of great comfort and familiarity for the soul, a way to maintain a sense of identity and connection to its past. A daily cycle of work and rest, the changing of the seasons, and the celebration of festivals are all present in Aaru, but they are stripped of their negative aspects. The work is no longer toilsome, the seasons are always mild and pleasant, and the festivals are a source of pure joy and celebration. This continuation of earthly rhythms is a powerful symbol of the Egyptians, a belief in the sanctity of life and their desire to preserve its essential patterns in the afterlife. It is a vision of eternity that is not static and unchanging, but dynamic and full of life, a perfect reflection of the world the soul had known and loved. Continuing beloved activities from life,
A farmer can continue to tend his fields, an artist can continue to create, and a musician can continue to play, all without the limitations and frustrations of the physical world. This continuation of beloved activities is a source of great joy and fulfillment for the soul, a way to express its unique identity and to share its gifts with others. The work is effortless. The rest is complete, and the play is pure joy. This absence of hardship is not just a physical relief, but a psychological one as well. The soul is free from the anxieties and worries that so often accompany mortal life, the fear of failure, the pain of loss, and the constant struggle. The soul is surrounded by loved ones, engaged in meaningful work, and in constant communion with the divine. There is no longer any need for striving or struggling, for in Aaru, all desires are fulfilled and all needs are met. This eternal contentment is a reflection of the soul's. The presence of the divine is not a source of fear or awe, but of comfort and security, a constant reminder that the soul is not alone, but is part of a larger, loving cosmos. This sense of divine presence is a key element in the soul's experience of peace and contentment, a source of strength and guidance in its eternal journey. The divine is not just a ruler, but a companion, a friend, and a lover, a constant source of joy and inspiration. The benevolent rule of Osiris, the god of the afterlife, is a central feature of the Aaru landscape. Osiris is not a stern and judgmental deity, but a compassionate and just ruler who welcomes all worthy souls into his kingdom. He is the embodiment of the life-giving power of the Nile, the force of resurrection and renewal that governs the cosmos. His presence in Aaru is a source of great comfort and security for the deceased, a guarantee that they will be treated with fairness and kindness. Osiris is often depicted as a mummified king, a symbol of his own death and resurrection, and a promise of the same fate for his followers. His throne is a place of justice and mercy, where the hearts of the deceased are weighed against the feather of Ma'at, the goddess of truth and justice. Those who pass this test are welcomed into Aaru, where they can live forever in the presence of their beloved king. The presence of protective deities throughout Aaru further enhances the sense of peace and security that characterizes this paradise. These deities, often depicted as fearsome and powerful beings, are not a source of terror, but of comfort, a guarantee that the soul is safe from all harm. They are the guardians of the gates of the afterlife, the protectors of the sacred spaces, and the guides who lead the soul on its journey. Their presence is a constant reminder of the divine love and protection that surrounds the soul, a shield against all evil and negativity. These protective deities are a manifestation of the divine will, a force of order and justice that ensures the continued harmony and beauty of Aaru. They are the friends and allies of the deceased, a source of strength and courage in the face of any challenge, a sense of peace and safety. The overall sense of peace and safety in Aaru is a direct result of the constant presence of the divine. The soul is no longer alone in a vast and indifferent universe, but is surrounded by a loving and protective community of gods and goddesses. This sense of belonging and connection is a source of profound comfort and joy, a feeling of being truly at home. The peace of Aaru is not just the absence of conflict, but the presence of a deep and abiding harmony, a state of perfect alignment with the divine will. This sense of peace permeates every aspect of the Aaru experience, from the gentle swaying of the golden fields to the serene flow of the Nile. It is a peace that surpasses all understanding, a gift from the gods to their beloved children. This is the ultimate reward of a life well lived, a place of eternal peace and safety in the heart of the divine. The journey to the afterlife. The journey to the blissful existence in Aaru was not an easy one. It was a long and perilous path through the underworld, or duat, a realm of darkness, danger, and uncertainty. The soul had to navigate a complex landscape of caverns, rivers, and gates, each guarded by fearsome demons and monstrous creatures. The ultimate goal of this journey was to reach the Hall of Two Truths, where the soul would be judged by Osiris and the other gods. Only those who passed this final test would be granted entry into the field of reeds. This journey was a test of the soul's worthiness, a final purification before it could enter the paradise it so desperately sought. The trials of the duat were a powerful reminder of the importance of a virtuous life, a life lived in accordance with the principles of Ma'at, or divine order. But trials of the duat, the journey through the duat was fraught with peril. The soul had to face numerous challenges and overcome a series of obstacles, each designed to test its knowledge, its courage, and its moral character. The Book of the Dead was an essential guide for this journey, a collection of spells and incantations that provided the soul with the knowledge and protection it needed to navigate the treacherous landscape of the underworld. These spells were not mere words, but powerful magical formulas that could ward off evil spirits, open locked gates, and even transform the soul into different forms to overcome its enemies. The journey was a test of the soul's magical knowledge, a demonstration of its ability to use the power of words to shape reality and overcome the forces of darkness. The weighing of the heart ceremony. The climax of the soul's journey through the duat was the weighing of the heart ceremony, a moment of ultimate judgment that would determine the soul's fate for eternity. In the Hall of Two Truths, the soul stood before Osiris and a tribunal of gods, and its heart was weighed on a great scale against the feather of Ma'at, the goddess of truth and justice. This was a moment of profound significance, a final reckoning of the soul's life on earth. The heart, which the Egyptians believed to be the seat of the soul and the source of all thought and emotion, was a record of the individual's deeds, both good and evil. The feather of Ma'at represented the ideal of a perfect, balanced life, a life lived in accordance with the divine order of the universe. If the heart was found to be lighter than the feather, it meant that the individual had led a virtuous life, a life free from sin and corruption. The soul was then declared true of voice and was granted entry into the blissful paradise of Aaru. This was the ultimate reward, the culmination of a life of piety and good deeds. However, if the heart was heavier than the feather, it meant that the individual had led a life of wickedness and sin. The heart would then be devoured by Amit, a monstrous creature with the head of a crocodile, the body of a lion, and the hindquarters of a hippopotamus, and the soul would be condemned to a second death, a state of eternal oblivion and non-existence. The weighing of the heart ceremony was a powerful moral lesson, a stark reminder of the consequences of one's actions and the importance of living a life of virtue and integrity. One of the most significant trials was the passage through a series of gates, each guarded by a fearsome deity or demon. The Book of the Dead provides a detailed list of these gates and their guardians, each with a terrifying name and a formidable appearance. To pass through these gates, the soul had to know the names of the guardians and the magical formulas that would appease them or render them harmless. This was a test of the soul's memory and its knowledge of the sacred texts, a demonstration of its piety and its devotion to the gods. The journey through the gates was a symbolic passage from the world of the living to the world of the dead, a gradual shedding of the soul's earthly identity and its preparation for its new, eternal existence. The successful passage through these gates was a major milestone in the soul's journey, a sign that it was on the right path and that its ultimate goal was within reach. After successfully passing the weighing of the heart ceremony, the soul's journey was not yet complete. It still had to make a final, perilous journey across the waters that surrounded Aaru. This journey was often depicted as a voyage in a boat, a symbolic passage from the world of the dead to the world of the blessed. The waters were not always calm and serene. They could be treacherous and dangerous, filled with monsters and demons that sought to prevent the soul from reaching its final destination. The Book of the Dead contains spells to protect the soul during this journey, to ensure a safe and peaceful passage across the waters. The journey across the waters was a final test of the soul's perseverance and its faith in the gods. It was a symbolic baptism, a final purification before the soul could enter the pristine paradise of Aaru. The successful completion of this journey was a moment of great joy and relief for the soul, a sign that its long and arduous journey was finally over. As the soul approached the shores of Aaru, it would have been greeted by the sight of the blessed dead, who had come to welcome their new companion to their eternal home. The journey across the waters was a powerful symbol of the soul's transition from the world of the living to the world of the dead, a final passage from the realm of sorrow and suffering to the realm of joy and eternal peace. The arrival in Aaru, the soul's first glimpse of paradise. The arrival in Aaru was a moment of profound joy and relief for the souls of the dead. After a long and perilous journey through the Duat, the soul was finally able to rest and enjoy the fruits of its labor. The first glimpse of Aaru was a sight of unparalleled beauty and tranquility, a vision of a world of eternal peace and abundance. The soul was greeted by the sight of vast golden fields of reeds, the gentle flow of the celestial Nile, and the warm, welcoming presence of the gods. This first glimpse of paradise was a powerful and emotional experience for the soul, as it marked the end of its journey and the beginning of its eternal existence in a world of perfect happiness. A sense of relief and wonder. The sense of relief and wonder that the soul experienced upon its arrival in Aaru was a reflection of the long and arduous journey it had just completed. The trials of the Duat were a test of the soul's endurance and faith, and the arrival in Aaru was a testament to its strength and perseverance. The soul was now free from the dangers and uncertainties of the mortal world, and it could finally rest in the knowledge that it had been judged worthy and had been granted eternal life. This sense of relief and wonder was a powerful and comforting one, as it offered a respite from the struggles and hardships of the mortal world. The transition from toil to peace. The transition from toil to peace was a central theme of the arrival in Aaru. The soul had spent its life on earth
working hard to survive, and its journey through the duat had been a test of its strength and endurance. Now, in Aaru, the soul could finally rest and enjoy the fruits of its labor. The work that the soul did in Aaru was not a burden, but a pleasure, a joyful and fulfilling activity that was a celebration of the life it had been granted. This transition from toil to peace was a powerful and symbolic one, as it represented the soul's transformation from a mortal being to a divine one. The lullaby of Aaru. The final stage of the soul's journey was its peaceful slumber in Aaru, a state of eternal rest and contentment.
This was not a sleep of unconsciousness, but a state of profound peace, a deep and abiding sense of security and well-being. The soul was finally at home, surrounded by the beauty of the landscape, the companionship of other blessed dead, and the loving presence of the gods. The lullaby of Aaru was not a song in the traditional sense, but a symphony of sounds and sensations, a gentle and soothing embrace that lulled the soul into a state of perfect tranquility. It was the sound of the reeds rustling in the breeze, the soft whispers of the Nile, and the distant soothing sounds of nature. It was a lullaby of peace, a promise of eternal rest and comfort. The sounds of the field of reeds. The soundscape of Aaru was a key component of its peaceful and soothing atmosphere. The gentle rustling of the reeds, swaying in the perpetual soft breeze, was a constant and comforting presence. A natural lullaby that whispered of peace and tranquility. This was not the harsh, grating sound of dry reeds, but the soft, gentle murmur of lush, green stalks. A sound that was both calming and invigorating. The soft whispers of the Nile, as its waters flowed serenely through the landscape, added another layer to this soothing symphony. The sound of the water was a symbol of life and renewal, a constant reminder of the soul's rebirth into a new and eternal existence. The distant, soothing sounds of nature, the chirping of birds, the buzzing of insects, the gentle lowing of cattle, completed this peaceful soundscape, a world alive with the sounds of contentment and joy. These sounds were not random or chaotic, but were part of a harmonious and well-ordered whole, a reflection of the divine order that governed the afterlife. The sounds of Aaru were a source of comfort and reassurance for the soul, a constant reminder that it was in a place of perfect peace and safety. They were a lullaby of nature, a gentle and soothing embrace that lulled the soul into a state of deep and abiding tranquility. The soundscape of Aaru was not just a background detail, but an active participant in the soul's eternal rest, a constant source of comfort, and a symbol of the divine grace that permeated every aspect of the field of reeds. The gentle rustling of reeds, the soundscape of Aaru is a natural lullaby, a symphony of gentle, soothing sounds that lull the soul into a state of peaceful rest. The most prominent of these sounds is the gentle rustling of the reeds, from which the field takes its name. This is not the harsh, dry rustle of dead vegetation, but the soft, whispering sound of living reeds swaying in a perpetual benevolent breeze. The sound is a constant, rhythmic presence, a natural white noise that masks any potential disturbances and creates a cocoon of tranquility. It is the sound of life, of growth, of the gentle movement of the natural world. The rustling reeds are a physical manifestation of the peace that permeates Aaru, a constant reminder that this is a place of harmony and balance. The sound is both a lullaby and a mantra, a repetitive, soothing rhythm that calms the mind and soothes the soul. The soft whispers of the Nile, another key element of the soundscape of Aaru, is the soft whispering of the Nile. The river, which flows serenely through this paradise, is not a silent presence. Its waters create a gentle, continuous sound as they lap against the banks, flow around the islands, and nourish the fertile land. This is the sound of life-giving water,
a liquid lullaby that is both calming and invigorating. The whispering of the Nile is a constant reminder of the river's central role in the Egyptian concept of life and the afterlife. It is the sound of the soul's journey, of the eternal flow of time, and of the divine presence that sustains all life. The combination of the rustling reeds and the whispering Nile creates a powerful and evocative soundscape, a natural symphony that is perfectly designed to induce a state of deep relaxation and peaceful sleep. The distant soothing sounds of nature. The distant soothing sounds of nature are another important element of the soundscape of Aaru. The gentle chirping of birds, the buzzing of insects, and the soft rustling of leaves all contribute to the overall sense of peace and tranquility that pervades the field of reeds. These sounds are not just a background noise, but an integral part of the natural symphony of Aaru, a testament to the richness and diversity of the natural world. These sounds are a source of great comfort and joy for the souls who dwell in Aaru, a reminder that they are part of a larger and more perfect world. A simple, repetitive incantation. In addition to the natural sounds of Aaru, the soul was also soothed by the gentle, repetitive incantations of the Book of the Dead. These were not complex or elaborate spells, but simple, soothing formulas, designed to calm the soul and protect it from any lingering fears or anxieties. These incantations were a lullaby of words, a gentle and reassuring presence that reminded the soul of its successful journey and its secure place in the afterlife. The words of these incantations often reference the key elements of Aaru, the fields, the reeds, the river, the gods, creating a sense of familiarity and comfort for the soul. The rhythm of these incantations was slow and repetitive, a soothing and calming cadence that was designed to lull the soul into a state of peaceful slumber. The words were not just sounds, but powerful magical formulas, imbued with the power to heal, to protect, and to comfort. They were a gentle invitation to rest, a promise of eternal safety and peace. The incantations of the Book of the Dead were a final gift to the soul, a parting blessing from the world of the living, a lullaby to guide it into its eternal sleep. They were a reminder that the soul was not alone, but was surrounded by the love and protection of the gods, a cherished and beloved member of the divine family. A lullaby referencing Aaru's elements. The concept of a lullaby in ancient Egypt was not merely a soothing song, but often a powerful incantation, a form of magic, Heka, used to protect the vulnerable, especially children, from the dangers of the unseen world. The magical lullaby, also known as the charm for the protection of a child, is a prime example of this practice. This spell, dating back to the 16th or 17th century BCE, was sung to ward off ghosts and evil spirits who were believed to prey on the innocent. The lullaby's text is a direct address to these malevolent forces, warning them of the protective measures the singer has taken and commanding them to leave the child alone. The power of the lullaby lay in its words, which were considered potent weapons against the forces of darkness. In the context of Aaru, a lullaby would serve a similar purpose, but instead of warding off evil, it would be used to invoke peace, tranquility, and the protective presence of the gods. The elements of Aaru, the golden fields, the gentle Nile, the lotus flowers, and the Bennu bird, would be the central themes of such a lullaby. Their names and descriptions woven into a soothing, repetitive chant that would lull the soul into a state of perfect rest. The rhythm of the Aaru lullaby would have been its most important feature, a soothing and calming cadence that could slow the heart rate and quiet the mind. This rhythm would have been slow and deliberate, mimicking the gentle, unhurried pace of life in the afterlife. It would have been a rhythm that was in harmony with the natural world, a reflection of the gentle swaying of the reeds and the soft whisper of the Nile. The lullaby would have been a form of auditory meditation, a way of focusing the mind on the peaceful and repetitive sounds of the paradise, allowing all other thoughts and worries to fade away. This calming rhythm would have been a powerful tool for inducing sleep, a way of creating a sense of deep relaxation and tranquility that could carry the soul into the world of dreams. But gentle invitation to rest. The gentle invitation to rest is the final and most important element of the lullaby of Aaru. The lullaby is not a command or a demand, but a gentle and loving invitation to let go of the worries and concerns of the day and to surrender to the peaceful and restorative power of sleep. The invitation is a reminder that the soul is safe and secure in Aaru, that it is surrounded by the loving and protective presence of the divine. The invitation is a way for the soul to let go of its fears and anxieties, to trust in the benevolent and loving nature of the afterlife, and to surrender to the gentle and healing power of sleep. The final embrace of sleep. The final embrace of sleep in Aaru was a state of perfect peace and contentment, a deep and abiding sense of security and well-being. The soul was finally at rest, free from all the cares and worries of the mortal world. It was a sleep of the just, a reward for a life lived in accordance with the principles of Ma'at.
It was a sleep of dreams, but not of the troubled, chaotic dreams of the mortal world.
The dreams of Aaru were of beauty, of joy, of love, and of eternal peace.
The eternal safety and comfort of the afterlife were the ultimate reward for the soul's long and perilous journey.
In Aaru, the soul was finally home, surrounded by the beauty of the landscape, the companionship of other blessed dead, and the loving presence of the gods. It was a gentle fade into dreams, a gradual and peaceful transition from the world of the living to the world of the dead. The soul was not lost or forgotten, but was cherished and remembered, a beloved member of the divine family. The final embrace of sleep in Aaru was not an end, but a beginning, the start of a new and eternal existence, a life of perfect peace and contentment in the field of reeds.
As the day in Aaru draws to a close,
the soul, weary from its joyful labors, finds a quiet spot by the serene Nile to rest. The gentle sounds of the reeds and the water create a natural lullaby, a soothing backdrop for the soul's final embrace of sleep. The soul, in this case, Many, sits with her hands gently resting on a lotus blossom, its fragrance a final calming gift from the divine landscape. The combination of the gentle sounds, the soothing fragrance, and the profound sense of peace that permeates Aaru creates the perfect conditions for a deep and restful slumber. The soul's eyes close slowly, not from exhaustion, but from a sense of complete and utter contentment. This is not the sleep of the dead, but the sleep of the eternally living, a peaceful repose in a world without end, the eternal safety and comfort of the afterlife. The soul's slumber in Aaru is a state of eternal safety and comfort. There are no nightmares, no fears. The soul is forever safe in the embrace of Aaru, protected by the gods and surrounded by the beauty of the divine landscape. This is a sleep that is both a rest and a renewal, a nightly journey into the depths of the subconscious, where the soul can connect with the divine and prepare for another day of joyful existence. The final image of the story, of Many drifting off to sleep by the Nile, is a powerful and comforting one. It is a reminder that even in the afterlife, there is a time for rest, a time to close one's eyes and surrender to the gentle embrace of peace. This is the ultimate reward.
The soul is not just falling asleep, but is entering a world of dreams, a world where it can continue to explore the beauty and wonder of the afterlife.
The dreams of the soul in Aaru are not just a source of pleasure, but a source of healing and transformation, a way for the soul to connect with its deepest desires and aspirations. The gentle fade into dreams is a testament to the ancient Egyptians' profound understanding of the power of the imagination to create a more perfect and beautiful world.
And so the story comes to its gentle conclusion, not with an ending, but with a continuing, not with finality, but with eternity, not with a period, but with a soft ellipsis that trails off into silence. The words have served their purpose. The journey has reached its natural pause. The time has come for sleep, for rest, for the peace that is not different from the peace of Aaru, not separate from the peace of Neferu, not distant from the peace that is your own deepest nature. Let go now. Let the current carry you. Let the reeds support you. Let the golden light of perpetual twilight enfold you in its gentle embrace.